Hey folks, how you doing? Thank you for joining us today at Root Health. I'm Jason Root, and today we're going to go over a program to control urinary incontinence. Now, urinary incontinence is the lack of control over the excretion of urine. It is a symptom that is very prevalent among people who have just given birth, mothers obviously, and people who have just had certain surgeries, and some of the retired population too, because over time as we age, some of the musculature, some of the deep musculature gets lax, and so we need to keep that up. And so this program is one that I've had success with in mitigating those symptoms, and developing that musculature. So anyways, without further ado, let's get to it. Incontinence is a lack of strength in the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor muscles control waste excretion and are part of the deep core stabilization system. It is unimportant that you know each of these muscles, but these slides may give you an idea of what muscles we're talking about. During pregnancy and childbirth, or from certain surgeries, these get stretched and lose strength, which leads to lack of control. So, we need to re-strengthen these muscles and then integrate them into deep core stabilization. To perform the first exercise for these muscles, it's called a Kegel. I am taking this from the Mayo Clinic guide. To identify your pelvic floor muscles, stop urination in midstream or tighten the muscles that keep you from passing gas. You can do this exercise in any position, although you might find it easiest to do them lying down at first. Tighten these muscles, hold the contraction for 3 seconds, and then relax for 3 seconds. Try it a few times in a row. When your muscles get stronger, try doing Kegel exercises while sitting, standing, or walking. For best results, focus on tightening only your pelvic floor muscles. Be careful not to flex the muscles in your abdomen, thighs, or buttocks. Avoid holding your breath. Instead, breathe freely during the exercises. So that's the end of the Mayo Clinic directions. But next, though, we are going to focus on the integration of the abdomen and the buttocks and the deep core stabilization system. The deep core stabilization system works together for all its functions. This is why you will find that this program so closely resembles the lower back pain protocol. The main function is to stabilize the spine and pelvis while keeping the internal organs in place. Again, it is not important that you remember these muscles, but conceptually it helps to be able to visualize while performing the exercises that will be recommended. The transverse abdominis wraps all the way around and works as a sort of internal girdle. The diaphragm comes from the top and opens our lungs, but also creates intra-abdominal pressure. The pelvic floor, while we already spoke of the role in excretion, also helps to provide pressure going upward. The internal muscles of the back stabilize the spine in extension. The glutes are not a part of the deep stabilization system. However, engaging them seems to neuromuscularly engage all the other components. So we want to make sure and point out that it's imperative that you perform a Kegel during the contraction phase of every repetition during the next two exercises. Brace to bridge. To start the brace to bridge sequence, we want to start off with our elbows about 45 degrees from the torso. You're going to drive your elbows into the ground. Notice how I have my fist clenched right here. You don't have to have that, but it helps. You can go ahead and drive your elbows into the ground to to give ourselves a little bit of leverage with our upper body Also, it engages the posterior chain or the muscles of the back that will help out when it comes to actually going into the glute raise. And your first thing is you're going to what we call do a brace. And the brace, if you see, it was very subtle where we push the lumbar spine. You'll see that there was a little bit of a gap right here, and you're pushing the lumbar spine this way so that all those lumbar vertebrae are pressing into whatever surface area that you're lying on. What this will do is it will also help put us into a posterior tilt, which is what we want to do when we do a brace. Now you're going to drive, see right here, the brace, drive up through the hips, and you'll notice that my hips came under rather than offering some sort of an arch right here, any sort of arch here in the back. So we're nice and flat through here. Well, many times I see the bridges done with an arch back. We want to do the opposite. You'll feel a nice stretch up here in the quads as you go into this fully contracted glute. You should feel nice and sturdy through the core as well. Hold for about 3 to 5 seconds. Come on back down, tap the top of the pelvis, and repeat. Drive back up, hold for 3 to 5 seconds, tap the pelvis, come back up. Drive with those hips underneath. Again, hips underneath is a really good view right here. I'm driving, I like to drive right through the bottom of my heels when I do this particular version of the bridge. Also, make sure that you breathe in on the way down and out on the way up. Stabilization exercise, the power plank. Starting position of the plank, in order to get into the plank position, we'll have the elbows just a little bit ahead of the shoulders. So you notice right, not right underneath, but a little bit higher in relationship to our body. Then the shoulders, have the knee on the ground, getting ready to get into that plank position. Plank position. So basic plank position is going to be a neutral spine, which means it'll be slightly tilted under. The elbows are now just a little bit ahead of the shoulders, not right underneath, but just a little bit ahead. We're nice and flat all the way from the back all the way down to the backs of the heels. There's some variation that could go on where you could be a little bit lower in this, but this position right here is just fine. We have that nice, tight, hollow position going through here, right? So that's our relaxed position. Now we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe out and tilt this pelvis underneath. Kind of difficult to see because it's a very subtle motion, but we're going to tilt the pelvis underneath, squeezing the glutes. At the same time, we'll notice that we moved this elbow right underneath the shoulder. So we've actually pulled against the ground going this way to engage the lats at the same time that we engage the glutes. For those of you who are interested, that's all called kind of a system that works almost as one muscle called the external oblique system. So now we relax again. Relax. Not quite an arch, but more neutral. All right, another rep. Let's squeeze again, nice and tight. You'll notice we're breathing out to get the diaphragm involved as we do the squeeze. This is probably the best rep so far. We can really see those lats working in, and we can really see those glutes tilting the pelvis under, get nice and tight. When you do this, you will feel really the most engagement into here, into that, what most people think of as core, but
again, we're going beyond core. We got the glutes. We got or beyond what people think of as core, is between the rib cage and the pelvis, but we're getting the lats involved. We're getting that deep internal stabilization system involved, getting the glutes involved. Nice full body exercise.
Okay, the last exercise in this protocol is the trampoline. Bouncing up and down really stresses our ability to control urine output. So we are going to jump up and down, but we're going to do it after we've neurologically prepped those muscles through doing our Kegel, through doing our power planks, and through doing our brace to bridge. So now all those deep core stabilization muscles are ready to do their job, and you can stress and test those muscles while jumping on a trampoline or jump rope, something of that nature. You'll notice I do lots of fun stuff up here. You want to try to make sure when you position yourself and you start jumping that you kind of keep that pelvic tilt that we were able to develop when we were doing our brace to bridge and in our power planks, so that we keep our pelvis in the position that is most advantageous towards getting those strong contractions from our glutes and our pelvic floor. So you're going to do that for a few seconds. Yeah, you can go from anywhere from 20 reps or 30 reps, or you can go for 30 seconds or a minute. Just test yourself to see how long you can go and how much control you feel like you have. Hey folks, thanks for joining us for that tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed it and it's really useful for you. I know it's been useful to a lot of my clients, and if you want to contact me, you can go ahead and use the number or email address right down there below. So thank you very much. Hope to talk to you soon. Best of luck.